Now we move on to multiplying and division, multiplication and division of surds. And these are the 3 rules that you must know. Rule number 1, if you multiply surds, as you can see, square root of A times square root of B, you can square root AB. Rule number 2, if you take any surd and you square it, the square root and the squared cancel each other out. So it's important to realize that if I have square root of A squared, or if I have square root A and then squared, both of these just give me an A. In both circumstances, the square root and the squared cancel. And rule number 3, if you take 2 surds and divide them by each other, you can combine the division. Okay, so if you root A divided by root B, it's the same as square root of A over B. Let's look at some examples which best demonstrates these rules. First one, square root 5 times square root 2 is the same as square root of 5 times 2, which is square root of 10. Next one, root 7 times root 3 is the same as Next one, you've got 3 root 5 times 2 root 7. Very simple. Multiply the whole numbers, so 3 times 2, which is 6. And then root 5 times root 7 is root 35. Okay. Question number 4, root 5 squared is just 5, as we said in the rules before. Question number 5, if you recall back for question number 5 from the index laws, if you have A to the power of something and B to the power of something, okay, and this was to the power of 2, for example, it would be A to the power of 2n times B to the power of 2x, okay? That n must be to the power of 2 and that x to the power of 2 as well. So question number 5, imagine there's a little 1 there, is the same as 3 to the power of 2 and then root 2 squared as well if you follow those rules, which is 9 times 2, which is 18. Question 6 is square root of 10 on 5, which is square root 2. And question number 7, what you do here is you divide the whole numbers as you normally would. Divide that by 2 and get 4. Divide that by 2 and get 1. And now root 15 on root 5 is simply root 3, right? Root 15 on root 5 is the same as square root of 15 over 5, which is root 3. So that answer there is just going to be 4 root 3. Okay, so now we move on to some more examples. Question 1. Do you think you know what the answer is there? Root 2 times root 5. It's simply going to be root 10. I don't need to show the working out. I don't need to do this every single time, okay? Just root 10 is fine. Next one, question 2. 2 root 3 times root 5. Don't forget there can be a little 1 there. So 2 times 1 is 2. And then root 3 times root 5 is root 15. Question 3. 5 times 2 is 10. So it's 10 root 6. Question 4. Put a little 1 there. 6 times 1 is 6. And 7 times 14 is 98. So 6 root 98. Now, what's important to remember, if you have a look at our final answers, is root 10 can't be simplified anymore. Root 15 can't be simplified anymore, so they stay as they are. Root 6 can't be simplified anymore. However, in this case, root 98 can be simplified. So this should be this is why I said before, you've got to be really good at simplifying surds because it comes up a lot in the rest of the chapter. Question 5, root 5 squared is simply going to be 5. The next one, remember here, imagine there's a little 1. So it's going to be 3 squared times root 2 squared. Question 7, root 18 divided by root 2. We can rewrite this like this, which then becomes root 9, and root 9 is obviously just 3. Question 8 now, root 45 divided by root 15. We can rewrite this as 45 divided by 15, which is root 3, and that's complete. Question 9, we've got 12 root 18 over 3 root 6. So we're going to focus on simplifying that 12 over 3 first. Divide that by 3 and get 4. Divide that by 3 and get 1. And now root 18 over root 6 is root 3. So the final answer is 4 root 3. Question 10. We've got 3 root 6 over 12 root 2. So we're going to focus on dividing that by 3 and getting 1. Divide that by 3 and we get 4. And now root 6 over root 2 is root 3. So the answer is simply root 3 on 4. All right, 11. This is a classic example. If you have a look at some of the other surds that we've got, let's look at question 8, for example. You see, we had root 45 divided by root 15. We turned it into this format here. But if you look at question 11, so if I go from that, if you look at question 11, it's already in that format. Now, we can't simplify a quarter to anything. You see, in question 8, there was benefit in transferring all of this to this because now 45 divided by 15 is simply 3, and we're finished. In this case, we're going to have to go the other way around, right? So watch what happens here. This question, root 1/4, is going to be rewritten as root 1 over root 4. Now root 1 is 1 and root 4 is 2. So we actually benefited in this question by taking the question and rewriting it like this, which then simplified to this. So you must assess the question and decide what's best in that particular scenario. And what I've done here in these examples is given you a range of questions so you can experience that. Question 12, we go ahead now and 2 times 8 is 16. 3 times 6 is 18. And divide these two and we get 4, so it becomes 4 root 18. Again, you cannot stop at this answer because we know that root 18 can be simplified. And I think this is where a lot of students lose marks. They get these answers and they stop. And if you lose a mark here and there, then it can really add up in an exam for you. So just be careful, please. It's a bit like fractions, you know, when students might take a fraction, they answer it and then they don't simplify their answer, okay? So please make sure, as I mentioned earlier, you must be brilliant at simplifying surds before moving on to multiplying and dividing. In our next section, we are going to be moving on to adding and subtracting surds, and that'll be done shortly.